I have come to you, O God of joy. I have made you my destination, and you are here and now, and that is where I'll stop my heavy travels and hand myself over. I'm done winding the long, scraggly miles after a God of crusts and poor returns. You, God of true wine and jubilance, I've chosen your feast. I will no longer turn myself away from the table and blame my stingy version of you for my hunger. I'm staying, and I'm ready for all the courses. Now please pass those buttery potatoes.
Hi, welcome. My name is Li Kynvi. I'm the intern minister here at First Parish, Church of Groton, Massachusetts. Reverend Li Kynvi and I are so glad you're here with us online. We are a community seeking to deepen spiritually, take care of one another, and be a blessing to the world. Unitarian Universalism is a faith for all, so whoever you are, whatever country you come from, whoever you love, whatever you've done, whatever your beliefs, abilities, gifts, challenges, wherever you are on your life's journey, you're welcome here. Our spiritual community is vibrant and alive here in Groton, Massachusetts, and with members and friends across the country. So if you'd like more information about First Parish, our programs, events, small groups, please just email us at info@uugroton.org. We'll get you connected. We've certainly learned through the pandemic that our sanctuary isn't confined to this room. The service that you'll see on this recording was held on the third Sunday of Advent in 2021 in our sanctuary here in Groton. And our topic is joy, which is a topic for any time you happen to be watching. But we invite you to get a candle of your own if you can, hold your prayers close, hold your loved ones close. Wherever and whenever you are joining us, we hope that you'll come in and just rest for a while. Receive joy and hope and strength. We're so glad you're here, and you are so welcome.
So we're going to invite you to imagine that you are singing while you're humming. fMRI research confirms that imagination is a neurological reality that can impact our brains and bodies in ways that matter for our well-being. I'm a music therapist, I know these things. So join us in imagining joy to this world.
In Mexico, the holiday festivities start on December 3rd and go all the way to February 2nd. Oh yes, we do love to celebrate. I want to share my favorite part of the holiday, Las Posadas. Las Posadas are gatherings of families and friends, all singing carolings together. Las Posadas start on February 16 and go to, December 16 to December 24th. Las Posadas are hosted by 8 different families. The highlight of each night are either tamales, pozole, Mexican hot cocoa, and of course a piñata, which we brought today here for you. Piñatas are always filled with candy, and it's a great celebration when you get invited to come and do the piñata. The last posada is on Noche Buena, which is Christmas Eve. It is a tradition for most Mexican families to attend midnight mass before returning home to eat a very large, late Christmas feast. It's a midnight, and it's huge, so you don't go to bed. That happens. So we dance, we celebrate, and somehow Santa Claus makes an appearance. We don't know how. So on Dia de Navidad, or Christmas Day, is a nice, quiet day to spend with family and friends. We're really tired after all the food and all the dancing and all the ponche, which ponche is a tequila-based drink. So, can you imagine? The New Year's is all about fireworks, more tamales. I don't know if you guys know tamal, but it's a delicious cuisine. It's very delicious. I will bring some sometime. And we just dance and more food. And my favorite is January 6th, which is Dia de los Tres Reyes Magos, which is, we celebrate the visit of three kings to the newborn baby Jesus. We have a rosca, which is a bread or cake shaped in a donut. And we eat that with hot cocoa, or champurrado, which is hot cocoa. Remember that I mentioned that we like to party? Mm-hmm. Well, February 2nd is the last party of our holiday, and it's called Dia de la Candelaria. It's Candles Month Day. So this year, I want to invite you to celebrate your holiday like a Mexican. So eat, celebrate, and repeat. Please. A candle of joy to celebrate togetherness with family and friends. Gracias.
So in the Christian tradition, this third Advent calendar is lit to remind us that Christmas, the birth of Christ, is near. As our winter days become darker and so short, this candlelight of joy to me is a symbol of bringing light through these dark days of winter. Light to ourselves, light to those we love. As UUs, we talk to our children and youth about a sense of wonder. Perhaps we all need to rekindle this sense of wonder during these times by communing with our deeper selves, alone and together, to help us celebrate joy. We've all walked through hard times. My personal story here in community began at Leah's first sermon after my family had gone through a middle-of-the-night house fire. Community is everything to me. All of us have had hard times. How can we not be overwhelmed by what is happening to our country, our world, our precious planet? These days call us to seek out quiet moments to renew our inner sense of wonder, which can lead to gratitude, which can lead to joy. If feeling joy is not a given throughout our lives, it can be a choice of love over fear. Then perhaps we can cultivate joy through gratitude, which is now even scientifically proven good for our immune systems. It feels important to find safety in tending to joy, in having a practice to listen and be aware of the smallest things that bring light. Then this is a gift we give to ourselves, so we can give it to others. Joy then becomes our precious resource that replenishes itself in giving to ourselves and in giving to one another. I'm blessed to light this Advent calendar today. Candle today. I'm blessed to light a candle today for sharing joy in our blessed community.
Dane, as some of you know, and I grew up steeped in Danish tradition. My mother immigrated here in her 30s, and she was so homesick at Christmas time that we had a more Danish Christmas than anyone in Denmark, I think. All homemade, all from scratch. Scandinavians are pretty intimate with darkness this time of year, and they get it, that sometimes what we need in the dark is the comfort of food, warmth, beauty, light, and music. The Santa Lucia tradition holds all of that and will be celebrated tomorrow, December 13th. Yes, this is the one with people dressed up in white robes and red sashes, carrying candles, and one has a crown of candles, which I would not be donning today. But I will escort us into our time of prayer with this Danish version of the Italian song. I invite you to take this time to bring your attention to what is happening in your body, whatever it is. Becoming aware of your current state and your breath without reaching to change them. Nu bærets løse frem står på din krone, und om i hus og hjem sangen skal tone. Nu på Lucia dag hilser vort vennelag, Santa Lucia, Santa Lucia. Hervel for ønske fest, sangen skal klinge, gaver til hver en gæst, glad vil du bringe. Skænk os af lykkens vel, lige til livets kvæl, Santa Lucia, Santa Lucia. We gather to make this space holy. And gathered, we pray today for the family and loved ones of Matthew P. Taylor, who was a dear friend of mine and seminary colleague, and died unexpectedly this week. Unitarian Universalism has lost a great leader. We pray for Karen's family, Greg and Leo and Margot, her sister Kristen, her brother Stephen, her parents Christine and Tony, her in-laws Christine and Marie, and Jim and Kathy, as they grieve for Karen. We hold in prayer the Susie and Sanchez families as they grieve for the deaths of Bob and Jamie. We hold in prayer Haydee Hannian's husband, Jim M., who is having surgery on Thursday. We hold Nancy Simonton's son-in-law, Patrick, who has some serious health concerns. And we hold Liz Davis Chafin's father's wife, who is also facing serious health concerns. We are sending our prayers to Rick and Martha's nephew, Jeremy, who has been struggling with a brain tumor and is nearing end of life. And we send our prayers and love to his spouse and 2-year-old. We are sending our prayers to Ann S.'s brother, who has stage 4 cancer, and to Parfait, Gisana, and family on the death of their mother. We hold Nancy Fleischer and her family in prayer this week, following the death of her beloved sister, Kathy. And we pray for hope, and we pray with hope for Reese's friend Cheryl, who is receiving chemotherapy, and for Pamela as she grows stronger after spine surgery. And we know there are joys out there too. And this service is about holding the joy right alongside all of this loss. If you are here in person, feel free to leave a prayer card, as Owen mentioned, in the basket here or outside by the stones. And anyone, including those of you online, feel free to email us at prayers@uugroton.org and we will receive them. We send our loving prayers to the people in the tornado's path in Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee, and Kentucky, and to the families of those who died in that tornado, and to everyone whose lives were torn asunder. We hold in prayer all the healthcare workers across the planet who are wearily struggling to keep caring for all their patients. We hold those around the globe who are struggling with COVID and other diseases, and we send prayers of strength to people living with mental illness. No matter how much suffering and how much pain and how much grief, we gather to make the space holy and to hold the joy right where it belongs, in the middle of everything. Let's rest for a while in the love that holds us all in tenderness. Our reading today is by Kathryn Amos from her service this summer, reflecting on the classic 1952 MGM musical, Singin' in the Rain. Kathryn had watched this musical while she was hospitalized last spring. And when she wrote what I'm going to read, Kathryn had been living with a very rare cancer for more than 3 years. She knew something about finding joy in struggle. And she died on November 24th. So in this part of her reflection, Kathryn is talking about how hard the actors in Singin' in the Rain had to work to get all the dancing and singing right. And then she says this: but we don't see the commitment and the grueling work that went into it. It's the joy that stays with us. She goes on, so what does choosing joy look like? What does working at joy look like? How do we smile in the darkest, stormiest stretches of our lives? Kathryn says the movie offers us some clues. We create joy by singing, dancing, long nights talking and laughing with friends, creating. And at the end of the number Singin' in the Rain, a police officer in the film comes up and crosses his arms and frowns while Dawn is like stomping around in the puddles. And that cop, like that cop, observers often regard the joyful person as suspicious, Kathryn wrote. But Dawn and the rest of us joy choosers aren't denying that it's raining out. We're smiling anyway. In everyday life, joy can be unearthed in simpler, less cinematic moments. Appreciating the heft and aroma of our morning mug of tea or coffee. Telling silly knock-knock jokes with children. Cracking open a peanut. Watching clouds drift overhead. Kathryn wrote, sometimes we forget to do this. We expect joy to rise organically without any attention or effort, a spontaneous gift from the gods. That's not usually how it works, I don't think, she said. Creating joy takes effort, requires persistence. It's a conscious choice we make. I'm getting through this, she said, with determination and a fierce commitment to joy. There ends the reading. So I asked you good people gathered here last week to share some brief written reflections. And it was kind of like receiving 75 love notes to joy. What you already know collectively is a beautiful and meaningful representation of the depth, of the breadth, of the intimacy of joy. And it is a delight to center your words and wisdom today. The exact sentence, "My joy is this community," appeared more than any other single sentence on those cards. And so many of you said you find joy in being with family and friends. You wrote about infectious joy, finding joy in other people's smiles, in giggles and belly laughs, in hugs and warmth and good company and good food, in color and fond memories and gratitude. And as one person put it, having the ability to be the good thing that happens to another person. You wrote about finding joy in the connections, including the natural world, in healthy trees and forests, in moss-covered logs and lichens, hemlocks, willow strands reflected on a pond, and the breathtaking blooming of a flower. You find joy in the details of the more than human world, I learned, in the sunrise and sunset, in the sunshine on the water and wetlands, in waves crashing at the ocean, in the wind through the pines, and the exquisite, tiny Carolina wren and her flute song. You find joy in gardening, in the slow turning of the soil. And you wrote about the bliss of watching geese do ballet on your lawn. Nobody wrote about the bliss of the geese droppings, however. At least 10 people mentioned pets, that's no surprise. The way the dog greets you when you return home, the way the tail wags the dog, the way the dog waits just for you and doesn't act like that with anybody else. I heard about new puppies and special shout-outs to a dog named Phoebe Joy and a cat named Baby Girl. It will come as no surprise that a huge number of people mentioned children in connection with joy. Their smiles, their innocence, their unconditional love, their exuberance, and the sound of children's laughter. One of you wrote, "Children are where pure joy lives." Music and dance clearly bring you joy, including humming along with the cantor, hearing loved ones sing. One person wrote they find joy in finding the exact right poem at the exact right moment. You find joy through your senses, a warm bed, a hot cup of coffee, clouds drifting by. And you shared too what joy feels like to you. These are all direct quotes. Joy is an adrenaline release that's positive. Joy is feeling like the ocean pulling and pushing me around. I have little control. I just go with it and smile. Joy is that warm feeling in my heart when something wonderful happens. It feels like my heart grows larger. It feels like you are illuminated from within, glowing, almost too hard to hold and be, and yet such a gift. Joy feels warm, all-encompassing, hopeful. Joy feels soft and full and gentle. It feels like peace. It feels like gladness. It feels like the reason we are born. Good morning. Joy feels like exhilaration and appreciation and release. Joy is an uprush inside me. Sometimes when I pause to savor a moment, someone wrote, joy sets me alight, if only for an instant. And sometimes that is enough. You told me that joy is a state of mind that rides just below the surface, that it happens when you go beneath your thinking mind and feel your true self, that it feels like a union with the universe. You wrote that joy is the manna of our souls. You wrote that joy is the birth child of hope fulfilled and love given. You reflected that joy is an assurance that goodness does exist in the world, and noted that it is independent to you of happiness, which is transient. One person wrote, joy is an out-of-body experience. Pure joy takes away the nagging aches and pains. It gives respite from the burdens we carry. Pure joy lifts us to a better place. It's a gift that we can give and receive with gratitude. And many of you wrote about the specific ways that you invite joy, by intentionally creating space for it, by quieting your mind and body, by preparing yourself and your living space, by seeing and sensing and feeling and letting go, by making yourself vulnerable, by listening to others and to yourself, to your own heart. And you invite it by wearing a smile, by helping others, and by spending time with people who feed your spirit and resonate with your heart. People who resonate with the most tender place deep inside you. It was interesting for me to reflect on what I did not hear from you. I feel joy when I'm rushing around and hurrying through things, and when I don't stop and when I don't pay any attention, said no one ever. No one said they feel joy when they're trying to appear undemanding and accommodating and as if they had no needs. No one mentioned receiving gifts, but many people mentioned giving as a source of joy. And I know this will come as a shock, but no one mentioned comparing themselves to others on social media or television. Go figure. It's been such an interesting couple of weeks for me to reflect on the theme of joy. Karen died just 2 weeks ago, and a close friend of mine from seminary, as I mentioned, Matthew P. Taylor, died unexpectedly of heart failure this week. Matthew was 41. Karen and Matthew were both so joyful so often, and it's one of the things that drew me to each of them. It's been a gift, both feeling my grief and sitting with your words and thoughts on joy this week. Thank you. I believe that joy is additive, that it adds to our capacity for resilience and vulnerability and strength. I've learned, working full-time in hospice for 15 years, that when compassion is essentially the work I do, part of my job is taking radically deep, authentic care of my own soul. And that includes doing the work of joy. Joy isn't a privilege, it's essential, especially in the hardest, most painful times and places. It's not extra, it's not a bonus that I get when I've finished my notes and my real work. Joy is the only way I can do this hard, important work for a long time without burning out. I have to be absolutely intentional about cultivating joy. I have to have a discipline of joy. I have to make sure that there is laughter and music and silliness and humor and beauty and nature and exercise and people I love, whether they're on a screen or in person. And I have to keep tossing joy to others, because that makes me wicked happy. Gary Haugen describes it like this: joy is the oxygen for doing hard things in the world. Joy is the oxygen for doing hard things in the world. For me, I have to have a discipline of coming up for air, constantly and continuously returning to clear a path to the place in me that feels joy. Because each of us is born with joy already fully installed. My friend Matthew and I talked on numerous occasions about the nature of black joy, about the nature of trans joy. Matthew loved to riff on how pleasure and joy have to be a central organizing principle of justice work. They would say, Adrienne Marie Brown's got it exactly right. Feeling good is not frivolous, it's freedom. These past couple of years have asked so much of us, right? Layer upon layer of disappointments, the devastating suffering and loss of life, the anxiety, the fear, the sadness, the continued dehumanization and systemic oppression of black and brown people in this country. And of course, some of how we've coped was by numbing in different ways. And I know for sure that selective numbing of emotions is not possible. When we numb the pain, we numb the joy in equal proportions. The extent to which our doors are open, we are open to all of it. The depth and the amount of pain and sorrow I'm able to feel is exactly the depth and amount of joy I'm able to feel. Karen said, us joy choosers aren't denying that it's raining, we're just smiling anyway. When we can access it, and it's different for different people, the ways we can and can't access it in different moments. There is no right or wrong. When we can get to it, we'll find the joy right there alongside the hard stuff. Are our families picture perfect? Nope. Will our past ever be different than it was? Nope. I love what author Terry St. Cloud says about one of her characters. She could never go back and make some of the details pretty. All she could do was move forward and make the whole beautiful. One of my responses to the loss of Karen and Matthew, these two joyful people whom I loved so dearly, has been to say, I love you, like I'm passing out Halloween candy. Big, full-sized chocolate bars, y'all, multiple bars, fair trade bars. So I'll say it to you too. I love you. When Beethoven included Friedrich Schiller's poem An die Freude, Ode to Joy, in his Ninth Symphony almost 200 years ago, it was a radical act. We didn't sing odes to joy at that time. It was a bold call for equality and freedom. Last year, when we celebrated the 250th anniversary of Beethoven's birth, Carnegie Hall commissioned former United States Poet Laureate Tracy K. Smith to reimagine Schiller's poem. And it's Tracy K. Smith's version that Melinda will sing for our closing hymn. So hum it like you mean it. Should we stand? Let's do it. Body, spirit. I'm going to close with these words by poet Shawn McCann. May your great ambition be to alchemize any ordinary moment you can find into pure gold by saturating it with your joy. I invite you to place one hand on your heart and with the other reach out and look around. We are connected. We are woven together with strong and sturdy threads of love. Go in peace, beloveds. Be a blessing to this world. Amen.